Chapter number 7. I am not going to wear it. It particularly fits you. There is no way I'm trying to squeeze into that thing, I said, tossing the dress back at Queen, who was putting in effort to get me to wear it. But you bought it, she started, and I flung my hands in the air in aggravation. No, you bought it after stealing my credit card to buy it. She held it up in the air so the bottom half fell down to knee height. But you would look so pretty in it. She pouted again. Going, I insisted that dress is small enough to fit you, and you are so much skinnier than me. There is no way in heaven or hell that thing will ever be able to fit on my figure. She rolled her eyes and hopped off the bed. The sound of her hitting the floor muted by the plush carpet. Quickly padding over to me, she pushed the dress into my arms, carefully not to punch the hem. It wasn't one of the dresses that you saw at dances, but it was more dress than I wore ever. Put it on, she growled and pushed me into the bathroom to try it on. I barely had time to whirl around to protest when the bathroom door slammed in my face. Queen, I went. Please don't make me to do this. You are putting it on Samantha and Williams. It was orange, but a soft kind, not an out there. Look at me, orange that screamed pumpkin. Well, I put up the dress. I opened my eyes, not realizing they had been closed, and peered into the mirror. I frowned when I realized that the heat coming from the heater had fogged up the window. Are you done? Queen sang from the bedroom, and I rolled my eyes again before hesitantly taking a step outside into the room. Her eyes wandered to the size of sores, and an ear splitting squeal left her lips. I grimaced as she ran towards me, jumping up and down with the energy of a toddler. Sam, you look so pretty, she said in a high pitched voice. Can I get out of this now? I asked, bored, desperate to get out of this thing. The feeling of a breeze traveling up my thighs was foreign and I didn't enjoy the feeling. She just grinned like a mannequin. Nope, she said, shaking her head frankly. Why not? I hated sounding like a little child, but I had to admit that was the only way to explain my tone of voice. She scoffed at me, picking up the skirt slightly to accent her sentence. Because this looks amazing on you, I am not going to have you deny yourself one day to looking like the princess that you appear to be under all their sweatshirts and jeans. I scowled, but know that there was no saying reason with her. Glancing in the floor length mirror, I saw that the dress did have a nice touch to it. The hem ended at a decent height, so I didn't feel as if I was dressing like a slut, and the straps were at least 3 fingers with it. Having a sigh, my shoulders slumped. Fine. She jumped up and down again, this time making her way around in a small circle. Yes, now we get to do your makeup and hair. No, I said firmly. My hair is fine as it is. I fingered through my hair. It's a tray stand only reaching to my chin, framing my face. Its sun-stained highlights were the only thing I was proud about it. If you are going to let me dress you, you might as well let me go all the way, she complained and tugged me over to the vanity. Plopping me down in the small bench, the sound of the curling iron being turned on was like a warning sign to get out. But her hand was placed firmly on my shoulder. Let me have my fun. Oh, come on, stop fussing. You look fine, Queen said to me as I furiously tried to tame the wild mess that had become of my hair. Hey, Q&S, someone called from the front door, and we both walked swiftly back inside to see Rebecca and Kyle come in hand. A pang hit my stomach faintly at seeing their hands clasped in each other, and I glanced over to Kyle, who was completely in tune of Rebecca. Guess I wasn't totally over our breakup. Hey, R&K, I replied, easily masking what I felt in front of with a laid back smile. Kyle looked towards me, his eyes passing over me quickly. Where's Sam? He asked, looking back at Quinn. Come on, Kyle, I don't look that much different, I scoffed, giving a slight flip on my newly curled hair. His eyes wandered, I swear. Wow, Sam, that was all he could say. His eyes lingering on me, and I couldn't help but smile a little. Rebecca didn't notice it much too. You look so pretty, Sam. I didn't think I have ever seen you in a dress. Yeah, I did. Underneath my confirmation robe, I rolled my eyes, but the smile wouldn't fade from my lips. It was like a dam broke and people flooded around the estate. Cars were parking all over the place, and pretty soon, in the span of a half hour, the place was full of people. Queen and I were together, particularly connected at the hip. Socializing with Uveri's party, I felt like such a rich hostess. Another one of the perks of having her for a friend, she lived the high end of life. A game of soccer had formed, and I was in a daze gazing at all the young guys running around in the field, kicking the crackhead checkered black and white ball. When a glass of punch was pushed into my hand, I looked up startled to see Queen, her other hand wrapped around some guy that I didn't recognize waist. Thanks, I sipped the drink casually. I glad to realize it hadn't been skipped yet. Oh, sorry, this is Todd. Todd Sam. Sam Todd. Sam has been my best friend for years. So you are the famous Mantha Williams. You look way too gorgeous to be a person, Queen explains all the time. That earned him a swift jab in the stomach by Queen, who quickly smiled at me apologetically, and I just grinned. Let's go, Todd. My eyes drew to a man standing idle on the other side of a soccer field, his eyes gazing at me with instantly I stood frozen. Looking at his bronze hair and glinted in the sunlight, he was standing half under the shadows of the trees, creating a line across his frame. He stood tall in a simple black button up and dark stained blue jeans. But even though he stood so far away from me, I could see his eyes glint dangerously a smirk on his face. I lifted my own hand, fluttering at my side to respond, but in the time it took to blink, he was gone. Suddenly, I realized that the time I had been staring at the strange person, the music seemed to have died down in my ears, and the people around me had faded. Now it all came back to me in a rush, leaving me having to take in a gasp of breath. I stumbled back lightly as if I was falling back into a reality. A warm hand caught my elbow, and I felt as if I had been burned. It looked up to meet familiar eyes. What are you doing here, Tristan? I gasped. It's party night. He shrugged, realizing my skin like it was a viper. My cheeks flushed in embarrassment as I realized, yeah, it was a party. Of course, he could come. You weren't invited, I protested, but the word faded in my mouth. I knew that no one needed invitations, it was a given. I needed to watch you around all these potential people. You could spill our secret onto, he whispered, and I rolled my eyes. How many times do I need to tell you that I'm going to keep quiet? Just leave me alone, I said roughly, starting to walk away. How dare he came here and ruin my Saturday afternoon. Now I would keep having to look his way to want to get closer so I could feel that warmth that radiated off his skin. I used to run my hands through the silky black hair on top of his head. I gritted my teeth together in frustration. I came up behind Kyle, who was absent of Rebecca for the first time this evening. I poked his shoulder and he turned around towards me. A wide grin plastered on his face. Hey Sam, he said. Hey, I replied weakly. He tensed up immediately, picking up on my mood. He always had a knack for doing that. I regretted instantly for coming over here. What's wrong? He asked quietly. Running a hand through my hair, I sighed. Nothing, I replied, real soft, but eyes closing for a moment as I willed the newfound headache to go away. He scoffed in irritation. Now I know You better than that. Something is eating you. What is it? I looked into his blue eyes that looked so sincere. I wanted to cry as soft blonde threads of hair covered them partly in light veil. He had been there with me through so much, even helping me through our breakup, which I had instead instated since I didn't want to ruin our friendship with the way things were heading with our relationship. His hand was slightly drawing a circle comfortably on my arm, just like old times, knowing it calms me down. Finally giving in, I opened my mouth to utter the truth when Rebecca stuttered up, holding two glasses of a drink that I didn't remember bringing out. Here you go, babe, she said sweetly, handing him and the plastic cup. His hand hesitated on my arm for a moment before reaching out to take a cup from her. I lost my chance, backing away quietly as she wrapped her arms around his waist. He looked over at me, his eyes pleading for me to stick around for a moment to tell him, but I waved him off with a smile covering my heart again. Walking back, I went to the pool, which was mostly empty on the deep end. I sat down at the edge, kicking off my handles and dipping my feet into the semi cool water. I looked down at the shimmering surface of the bottom, the way the water distorted, the way the tiles lined up, kicking my feet caused a rip effect to affect the vision. Slowly, a figure reflected off the smoothing surface of the water, his features coming into focus. I blinked, hoping he would go away, but he stayed there, looking soul man down at the water in front of my head. Instead of speaking, he sat down next to me, slowly rolling up the hem of his jeans and taking off his shoes and socks. His feet entered the water near mine, smoothly sliding into the water with much more grace than mine had. I'm sorry, Tristan murmured, and I looked up, started. He wasn't looking at me, but at the volleyball game carrying on. About what? I probed quietly, splashing my feet again softly. About treating you the way I am. It's not right, but I can't help but think of how much of a slower species you are in comparison, he said, still not looking at me. My nose wrinkled at the thought that this very human looking man besides me was more than just human, that his multiple personalities also involved multiple bodies. It's going to be quite a while before I can see anything but the pure human ignorance in you. So I guess I'm also sorry that I don't trust you. I nodded, not daring to say a word and ruin his apology. But I will still be following you around because my stubbornness is permanent. He grinned wickedly and I shook my head with an eye roll. His face grew softer though and he rested his hand on mine. The warmth was enough to make me faint, the soft, almost caressing touch that was slowly making addicted. My thumb hooked around his without my knowledge, wanted to hold more of his hand in mine. So feel his whole hand around mine in a cocoa of warmth. He smiled lightly and squeezed my hand lightly before pushing me into the pool. I screamed the cold water, a shock as I was submerged in it almost instantly. My hands failed and caught on the nearest thing which happened to me Tristan's leg. I tucked him in with me, hearing me yell in surprise. We both crashed underneath the water. The chlorine biting into my eyes that were caught open. I looked around and saw Tristan slightly below me, his body weight taking him down further. He looked up at me, his eyes squinting in irritation, and I mirrored the look. I swam to the surface and broke, gasping for breath, having been taken without it stirring. People had heard the outburst and swarmed around the pool. Queen was the first to reach a hand out for me, and she helped me back out of the water. Despite me being soaked, I pulled myself the rest of the way out of the pool. Seeing in the corner of my eyes Tristan swim to the opposite side of the pool and easily lift himself out. His jeans were soaked and his t-shirt was tightened with the water exciting his perfectly sculpted chest. With a groan, I stood up, and a towel was almost immediately wrapped around my shoulder. Going close at my side, I hate that boy, I grumbled, rushing to her room. She helped me searching for something to wear, but of course, since she was looking, found it a seemingly similar dress. This time of black with a defiant sigh, she allowed me to tie my mess of a pile of hair into a ponytail and help me dry off. So, she inquired, what have you been doing with a Mr. Tristan Everdeen lately, Sam? She asked innocently. My eyebrows scrunched together. Nothing. We haven't been doing anything. I responded a little too quickly, apparently, because her eyebrows rose impeccably high on her forehead. Sure, what really are you doing? I scrambled for a good excuses and the book in my mind. His parents are friends of my dad. His parents have told him to keep a watch on me while he gone, I uttered out suddenly. She seemed to ponder the excuses for a moment. Well, I was just about to die to have that hot of a babysitter to keep me company. She wiggled her eyebrows and I rolled my eyes again. I think he likes you though. Yeah, right, I scoffed. Sorry, but that's not happening, his jerk. Did you not see him push me into the pool? But that was cute. She smiled. Cute? You are the one having to redo all my clothing again. Yeah, I guess, but it's fun getting to play Barbie with a life size person. You can't very well decorate a Barbie's hair like yours. Whatever. We were back downstairs and outside by the time some of the football players were starting the bonfire. I grabbed another drink from the coolers, which had to be filled multiple times by the guest thirst. Seeking myself a coke settled against one of the long logs used for sitting nearby. Kyle was sitting, Rebecca cuddled in his arm. Are you going to be all right? Going whispered near me. I grinned. I'll be fine. Now go enjoy your boyfriend. She gave me a parting smile and wanted to snuggle up next to him. The moon hung half full in the sky on its way back up to its full potential, but the next week it would be a silver disk in the sky. Hoots of owls and scurrying of crickets could be heard over the crowd's hushed tone. Slowly the music began, a soft tempoed rhythm I followed by a sweet voice that made the night more peaceful. I could make out Tristan's from opposite of me across the fire pit, leaning against another log in a similar position as me. I couldn't help but dream that his silver eyes were trained on me as the music carried away into the night.